the kind of events that I could have seen, matlab it was top of the line, and Vibgyor was it's like a Mumbai ka train. You get into it, धक्का लगा, अंदर घुस गए और धक्का लगा, बाहर निकल गए.
इवेंट मैनेजमेंट में हमारे पास आज की डेट में कोई ऐसा स्ट्रक्चर है ही नहीं. All you can do is just foray into it and figure it out.
Looking it from outside, I have never seen anybody make a career by choice. It's always been a career by accident.
By chance, हाँ.
That was the case 15 years ago, not today. I think अगर आप में जुनून है, lots of travel, impossible deadlines, crazy demands by clients and crazier ways to fulfill them. अगर वो चीज आपको एक्साइट करती है, अगर वो आपके रोंगटे खड़े करती है, seeing a live event happen, if it gives you goosebumps, then this career is made for you. Otherwise, not. Andhvishwas, or whether it's taking a signal or what, and that was the day I decided that there's no question, I'm coming back and starting my own agency. I saw the most beautiful rainbow I've ever seen in my life just when these thoughts were going on in my head.
Hi everyone. We welcome you all once again to the event studio. और आज हमारे साथ एक बहुत ही स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं, who is also a very dear friend, Ankur Kalra. Welcome, Ankur.
Thank you.
The man who's all smiles. और उनकी कंपनी का नाम भी इन्हीं की तरह बहुत ज्यादा vibrant है, Vibgyor. Now, Vibgyor started in the year 2002. Just to give everyone a background who don't know him so well, सिर्फ 2 लोगों के साथ ही एजेंसी जो है शुरू हुई थी. And today. And also, it started in a garage, just to put it out there. And today, it's a 100-employee agency with offices in Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. बहुत बढ़िया काम कर रहे हैं. Lot of clients, I'm sure, बड़े से बड़े नाम हैं, whether it is the FMCG industry or any other, about which we'll get to know from Ankur in a little bit when we talk about his trajectory. But let me tell you कि जहाँ तक EEMA का सवाल है, he's one of the founding members of EEMA, and currently he's a general secretary EEMA, but usse pehle he has been rotating in different roles. So as far as EEMA's journey is concerned, he has been there in it from its very inception. Aaj Ankur will be talking, of course, about how the events journey has been for him, how the entire journey started in terms of his foray into the industry, and of course a lot more when it comes to what are the careers out there, how can one be a part of this very, very aspirational industry that we all look forward to. So Ankur, thank you for joining us here, and a very, very warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Sanchari. I'm so happy to be here, and it's always lovely talking to you. And thank you, Naveen and Vishal.
Most welcome.
तो अंकुर शुरुआत करते हैं, I think straight off, और जानना चाहेंगे कि how did events happen to you? Or you happen to events?
Events happened to me purely by accident, Sanchali. While in second year college, I used to do a summer job with Standard Chartered Bank selling credit cards from door to door, office to office, building to building. And I happened to visit a small office in Lado Sarai of Wizcraft. And I made 4 or 5 sales there. And that was a big order for me at that time. Because of that, I had to go to their office 4 or 5 times to collect documents and all. And I said, yaar, ye log kya hai? Itna, they are so happy doing whatever they're doing. It doesn't seem like work. And I became friendly with them. And I asked them that, yaar, tum karte kya ho? So they said, why don't you come in and you'll get to know. And next I know, I was holding a placard and standing at the airport welcoming Shivamani for a show. So that was the beginning. And little did I know that this would become my career and my profession. And it would give me everything that I have in this world.
So credit cards बेचते आपने खुद को बेच दिया वहाँ पे जाके, and they were so sold on you. They were so sold on you, and I think as far as Wizcraft is concerned, it was one of the biggest agencies of the time, and still is. Still is, and I think it is great to start your career from there. The learning curve would have been absolutely amazing. So started there, but then coming to opening your own agency, right? I'm sure that journey itself was not like straightforward. There was a lot of learning that went into it. And finally, it was time for you to make your own mark. So tell me about that transition.
So Sanchali, I worked with Wizcraft for about almost 3 years. Late 95 to I think 98 is when I worked there. I started off as purely a flunky, receiving celebrities from airports and doing all kinds of production odd jobs. Gradually got into client servicing, got into making presentations, got into presenting them, being in charge of shows, and learnt, all my building blocks were there. Then I was transferred to Fireball, which at that time was one of the largest discotheques in Delhi NCR. Yes. and what a time we had. It was an amazing place to learn. So I learned operations, client servicing, creatives. All my basics were in Vizcraft. Then I worked for this agency called Magnum Nexus, which at that time was one of the, I would say the top 5 agencies. Rahul, Sushma and Vidur used to run it. And as a young boy of 20, they gave me great opportunities, great learning, and they gave me a taste of leadership early in my career. So as a 20-year-old, I was heading a team of some 33 people, and I had become this cocky young man who was on 7th heaven. But it taught me about the basics of leadership, and they trusted me with a lot of their big projects, and that really took me to the next phase in my career. We used to work for National Geographic Channel, and I got a good opportunity, and I switched over to the client side, thinking that really would be the next stage and the final stage of my career. And somewhere down the line, I thought that now it's time to take the entrepreneurial plunge. So 2002 beginning, I left National Geographic Channel, and March 10th, 2002 is when Vibgyor started, and we've just completed 23 odd years.
Wow.
So it went away in the blink of an eye.
I just want to know here, what was the motivation to get into the entrepreneurship? Because, it's not I have tried it a few times.
Yes.
At least 3 times before we finally founded Spalva, me and Naveen.
Yes.
And it's not been
fabulous.
easy.
I'm so proud of what you guys are doing.
And, every time before this, something or the other that, said ki nahi, this is not the right thing. Maybe this is not the right time. What was it in your mind when you said ki nahi, ye karna hai mere ko, and you stuck to it for so long?
सच बताऊं या जो स्टोरी बतानी चाहिए वो बताऊं?
नहीं such.
Because
Because the audience.
Such.
Yes.
So there is a story there, a small little story, and I will take 2 minutes and tell you. So I was very confused. So my mother's first name started from V. And I had always thought in my mind that agar meri kabhi company hogi, it will be from V. And Vibgyor is a name which I had liked because I felt that it covered the entire spectrum of the marketing services. So I didn't want to do just events. I wanted to do the entire experiential gamut. So I thought in my mind that whenever I open a company, whether it's now or 10 years later, it will be called Vibgyor. So the name of the company was decided much before the company was opened. And we had traveled to Vaishno Devi by road. And this was in February 2002.
Before or after starting?
No, before. So March 10th is when the company started.
Okay.
Actually, March 10th is when we did the first event. I don't know when the company started. The first event was done with Shivani Kashyap and Sukhbir at the Lalit Hotel, which was the launch of Thomson TVs on 10th of March 2002. And मुझे नहीं पता कि उसकी preparation हमने कब से start करी. So I celebrate March 10th as our anniversary every year.
Okay.
But having said that, so I always decided कि जब भी company start होगी उसका नाम Vibgyor होगा. And I was sitting in the front seat of the car right next to the driver, and we were driving to Vaishno Devi, and there were all these Chintapurni and Chamunda Devi and all these other temples that we were passing. And I was thinking to myself that, Ankur, you have to decide whether or not you are coming back and opening your company or joining or taking an offer that you have. And I was saying, yaar, God help me decide. And I was thinking, yaar, how will God help me? Kya koi parchi aayegi? How will it communicate? Right. And I saw the most beautiful rainbow I've ever seen in my life just when these thoughts were going on in my head. I told the driver to stop the car. I got out and I got in and said, decision taken.
Yeah.
And I came back as there was no looking back.
It's a call.
So I don't know whether it's Andhvishwas or whether it's taking a signal or what, but that was my message, and that was the day I decided that there's no question, I'm coming back and starting my own agency, whatever be the consequence.
But after you started, the initial few years, लगा गलती हो गई या नहीं?
No, not at all. So I started on a zero expense basis. I had one colleague with me who took a small, I don't even remember the salary, but it was in a few thousands. He was like a friend, and he was a creative head with us at Magnum, and he started out with me. And my grandparents had just passed away at that time, and unka ek chota sa room, like a garage, an annexy to our house was there. And that was my office. We used to sit at my place. We had a telephone. We just invested in a computer, and we were in business. In those days, entry barriers were very low, and we were able to, without really investing much, we were able to start. And in about a year's time, we took a basement in CR Park, then we took another office in Lajpat Nagar, then we rented an office in Okhla, and we finally bought our own building in 2010. Okay. Sorry, I have jumped the gun.
No, absolutely. No, in the same direction, in fact, I wanted to ask you something. So, we are talking about, you started at a point where you say the investment was very less. If I may just, and this is especially for the audience, purely talking numbers and getting it straight. There are a lot of people who have this, same decision to make, who are looking at entrepreneurship at the moment, and they feel maybe we should start with a job or maybe we should start with a company. Some have the money to do it, some don't. What exactly do you think is a comfortable place if one wants to start an agency? Suppose you have the money or you don't have money. You think itna hona chahiye, uske baad maybe probably think.
So Sanchali, if I had to take the decision again today, it would have been very difficult. So to answer your question, at that time, if I started with a capital of maybe a lakh or two, today I would need a crore or two. If I want to create a decent organization, if I just want to be a fly-by-the-way operator, I want to be a person who's, just being an intermediary between agencies and artists or between agencies and, fabricators, I can do it at practically no investment.
Correct.
But if I want to create an organization that adds value and that has longevity, then I need to A, have the experience, B, have the capabilities, the systems, the thinking, C, have at least, I would say, 6 to 8 years of solid experience, and D, have deep pockets to be able to sustain for at least 2 years without being able to really earn much.
But do you really need a physical office to start with in the present scenario, or you grow with it? Because aajkal everything is happening over, virtually or over digital. You think we can survive, like your company for that matter, right? Obviously it has a big setup to do something tech and you need a lot of investment in tech, but this has come after a lot of years. But if you're not getting purely into tech and everyone is collaborating or working with further agencies, right? Even if you have like a few people to start with.
So I have a different perspective on this. See, everyone's journey is very, very different. Correct. It's not a one-stop process. Correct. If I look back at my journey, how I started was I was selling shoes, 2 saal joote beche, bag le leke, and then the Eureka moment happened and I saw the Hrithik Roshan guy, and that's where the event journey started. So my first job was with these people who were the breakaway of Wishcraft itself. So I worked there for 4 years.
Which breakaway was this?
This was brilliant. Raman and Samir.
Of course.
Yeah.
Dear
so I joined there and
Samir Brahmavar.
No, Samir Kasal.
Samir Kasal.
Yeah, and Raman Raheja. Right. And their journey was completely different. There मतलब पैसा होता ही नहीं था, ना सैलरी होती थी, ना वेंडर को देने के लिए होता था. The environment was completely different where के हमने स्टेज भी कसे थे. 4 साल लगाने के बाद I was getting married. I said this is not what I would like to do because जब सैलरी नहीं आती तो how will you run your family? That is where I switched the job. So the motive was completely different and I went to CS Direct where I've heard that processes were good, monies were on time. 1.5 साल मैंने वहाँ लगाए and 1.5 साल मैंने सिर्फ process सीखे.
What did you find out? So were the things which were said, were they true?
No. So in terms of money, I'm talking about 2004, 2005. It was bang on. Yeah. As in the money was paid very well. The processes were very, very good. But then few things happened and I had to leave. And the next stop was Wishcraft, where I stayed for 5 years. And Wishcraft, showed me the scale. The kind of events that I could have seen. Matlab, it was top of the line, and Wishcraft was like a Mumbai ka train. You get into it, धक्का लगा, अंदर घुस गए और धक्का लगा, बाहर निकल गए. That kind of a experience where I learnt a lot. Matlab, I think the last show was I was running IFA in Macau in 2009 when I left. Amazing. But then the scenario became such that growth was very limited. That if I was in top 10, if I wanted to go in top 5, I wouldn't have done it.
It would have taken you 10 years.
Yeah, it would have taken me 10 years, and that was the time where I was married. I had kid. I had 2 cars which were on loans, and then the home EEMI. So the risks were, if you look at it. But then I was pushed in the corner, and that is where I said, I'm not gonna do this. 15th August 2009, I resigned. People didn't know kya hai, but for me it was liberation. I said, this is freedom. I'm not gonna go back to working. And then obviously, as भगवत गीता में भी लिखा है कि आपको सक्सेसफुल होने के लिए देयर आर 5 थिंग्स, कर्ता करणम, अधिष्ठानम, चेष्टा और डिविनिटी. लास्ट इज डिविनिटी. कि व्हेन इट कम्स टू द environment of the universe will make everything possible for you. I left the job. I didn't had anything, and you won't believe, work came, work started coming. We were only 2 people, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first year I did 24 crores of billing.
Wow.
So I'm saying the journey for everyone is very different. It cannot be
there's
put
no formula,
or it cannot be
put in numbers.
it cannot be set, and everyone has to go through that journey to understand. And maybe that was my journey, the 10 years I spent in different agencies. I learned a lot from that, and I took the best of these pieces from each company, and I incorporated my agency, ran for 10 years, and I did everything which was by the book. Okay, this is the way process has to be, this is the way things have to be.
So listening to all of you, it seems that Vizcraft is the training ground for everyone in the events industry.
Exactly.
So you are
For
also
about 80% of the people.
So
80%,
And of course, big thanks, shout out to Sabas, Andre and Viraf. They've been gurus for most of us.
So I will tell you, one industry event happened, and usme na they asked like everyone is a wizard, like who has been in with Vizcraft even for a little bit. Literally
80% of the hall had their hands up.
So it was
This was one of the EEMA events.
By the way, we are no longer Vizes, we are Vozes. So the people who leave are Vozes.
There was
Only people who work are Viz. Yeah.
Acha, ye bifurcation.
So you are Viz Naveen Gupta as long as you are there.
So
in
15
Vizcraft.
years back, maybe 20 years back, it was a known fact that you enter into Vizcraft and you get into industry, events industry. आज क्या करना होगा लोगों को? What do people do today?
Get into Vibgyor.
There are lots of progressive organizations, there are courses, there are lots of things, and I'm sure that's something that we will chat about.
Yeah.
But it's not as simple as it was 20 years ago. It's not as simple as it was.
Right.
The skill sets required were much lesser, times were simpler, your job was not that detailed, everybody did everything. Now we are talking about a super specialized era. Skill sets required are far, far more specialized, and you need far more knowledge, information, education, grooming, and I think the world has really moved on in the last 20 years. Our industry did not exist 20 years ago. It was just common sense. Everything was just only on common sense, that if you are doing an event, everything ran on common sense. There was no training manual, there were no systems and processes. So I think we've come a very, very
more of a profession than an industry.
Yes.
So glad you talked about it, because exactly the point where we wanted to take this conversation forward. एक event industry के अंदर there are, or in an event organization, let's say this, there are different parts, as you specialized parts. जो पहले it was, आप कोई भी नाम दे दो, I'm ops से हो या CS से हो, काम सब सभी कर रहे थे. But today these roles are very well defined. There's set of specialized people who are running this. So Ankur, if you have to define it for the industry or people watching, what are the different parts of an event industry or an organization? What are the different departments, if we can bifurcate that? And what exactly does it mean when you say that, okay, I'm an ops person? So one reason I'm asking, I'm just giving a small this thing. There's somebody who sent me a CV across a few days back, and the person said, I come from a background of basically hotels, right? And I said, and I want to get into events. I said, what do you want to do? I want to be in ops. I was like, okay, what does ops mean to you? So he said, run an event, the entire event. I said, that's not ops, right? But so that's what I'm saying. This is the kind of people don't know, operation is running the whole thing for them, which is not really the case when we see internally. So coming to you.
There are 4 basic parts, other than the tech part, which of course Naveen and Vishal can illuminate. There are 4 basic functions. The first is the client servicing function, which is client servicing / business development. The second is the creative function, which is all aspects of creative, and we can get into the detail, of course. The third is the operations aspect, where everything to do with execution. And the fourth is the support functions, which are common across different organizations, right? So support functions include HR, admin, finance, IT, front office, etc., etc. These are the common. So the support functions are the people who allow everybody else to do their job, who facilitate everybody else in doing their job, right? If they are not there, then money isn't there in the organization, and the phones are not picked up in the organization, and blah, blah, blah. So that is, of course, support functions are common across any business. It is not unique to us. But the other 3 are kind of unique to us. So if we talk about them one by one, client servicing, business development are the people who are the face of the organization, right? While their work is defined as meeting clients, doing presentations, doing meetings, it is actually the beginning and to the end, right? It is everything. They are the internal client. They are the person. Either they are the face of the company to the client, or they are the client to everybody else in the organization, right? They are the people who internally decide what needs to be done, what design needs to be made, when does a vendor need to be booked, etc., etc. So they are the ones who represent the company, who are the face of the organization, who represent the organization to any client. So they need to have very specialized skills. They need to be great at making presentations, they need to be great at talking to clients, they need to be thinking on their feet, they need to have negotiation skills, they need to have all the skills that an entrepreneur or an event manager or an experiential marketer, as you'd like to call it, needs to have. So that's the first part, and they are usually the fastest growing tribe within the organization, because very soon they become absolutely indispensable to the organization. If they are controlling a few clients, if they have a rapport or a relationship with the client where the client keeps going back to them, they become very important to the organization and therefore grow the fastest. So if you want to go the fast growth way, and if you have the capability to communicate with clients, to be able to build relationships with clients, that is the best part of event management to be in. The next comes the creative team. So creative consists of 2D, 3D, content, video. These are the four macro parts. 2D is designing of logos, designing of graphics. This kind of a logo is designed by a 2D person in our organizations. 3D is spatial design. It is about designing exhibition stalls or stage or walkthrough or any space design. Content is about writing content for invites, for EDMs, for any. And the last is, of course, video. Today, video content has also become an important part and is required almost in every organization. So these are the four large parts of creative. So if CSBD was the face, they are the brain of the organization. They are the ones who create the concepts, who create the themes, who create the narratives, who create the films, who create whatever needs to be executed, right? So a client servicing person will typically come back and say, okay, this organization is completing 25 years. They need to do an event for 400 employees. Their budget is whatever, 50 lakhs. Now we need to think of a concept which will motivate these 400 employees. So the creative team then gets into action, does their research, gets into the act and takes it forward. So their job is to create concepts, designs, which get sold to the client.
Right.
The third is, of course, our dear darling, execution, which is operations. So I call them actually the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, right? So the Brahma is client servicing, Vishnu is creatives, and Mahesh, which is the executor,
the one who does the work.
So on ground, if Mahesh is not there, if the operations team is not there, that beautiful set will not be there. This thing is executed by somebody in operations, right?
Yeah.
So the entire Auto Expo stall may be planned beautifully, but if there is a scratch at the time of the launch, the entire billing of the project comes in question, correct? So they are the ones who ensure that whatever has been sold, first, whatever has been dreamt and thought about, secondly, whichever has been approved by the client is actually physically standing there on ground. So whether it is fabrication or it's technical or it's briefing gorgeous MCs like you or it's executing any aspect of the event, the MICE part, the cabs, airlines, anything to do with on-ground execution is the job of the operations. Of course, the client servicing team is there in between. They are there to guide, they are there to monitor, they are there to ensure. So they are the internal client. So they are there to ensure. So these are the three basic departments, the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, which is CSBD, creatives and operations.
They have a guideline or a proper book which is in place. I have not heard of any organization have that, or at least that I'm aware of.
We have a 600-page process manual.
तो ये आपको पढ़ के आना पड़ेगा और उसकी study अच्छी, and then there will be questions.
So the first 15 days is an induction period, non-negotiable. Nobody is given any task. There is a assignment at the end of it. They have to present 2-3 levels and then finally to me by the 15th day. Only after that they are given any responsibility across any discipline in my company. It's not just for CS. For ops, for creatives, for CS. So there is a non-negotiable 15-day induction process which everybody at any level has to go through.
This is only for Vibgyor, okay? So if you're joining Vibgyor, it's very strong.
Yeah, so I have technically not heard about it in any of the other. So if you can go deeper on it, okay, what is it all about and what people learn from it, so that the audience can understand.
And why did you put it in place? हमारी मतलब event agencies, maybe there is a need, obviously, probably, or is there no need? What do you feel after you have put it in place?
I have about 45 different templates. From the first time you call up a client to the last time you do billing with a client, what will the email say? Where will the commas be? Where will be the apostrophe? What will be the format? From the first call to the client to the last billing to the client, everything is documented in that process manual.
Wow.
How will finance create the invoice? Where will our GST number be written? How will HR do the first interview? What will they say to a candidate when the person walks in first? What is the film? What is the coffee table book that they will see? When they come to me, how will I grade them in an interview? I have this 600-page manual which has detailed each one of these processes. So I took 6 months off just to create that manual. And we are very proud of that. That's something. Then we later systemized that into something called PMS, Project Management Software. Now, it basically digitized all these processes and everybody in the company has automatic access to it. And whatever are the approvals, every approval, whether it's advanced to partners and vendors and MCs, or it is final payment to anybody, or it is your first meeting, or it is an NBD call, is this entire route is captured in this project management system, which is proprietary, and there is one person whose job is just to keep updating it every 2 months, 3 months. We have somebody in a tech team who keeps working on it and keeps adding layers. We've recently added an HR layer to it. So we keep adding layers every 3 months. So it's a live thing so the first step was about maybe 10 years ago when we created this 600-page manual. And the next big turning point was when we digitized the entire thing, and now it's all on an autopilot mode. Sorry.
This must be in your business too, right?
I'm sorry?
I was saying in your sector, this must be.
They do the real tech work. I'm sorry. I don't do the real tech work.
From his own background, like his IT and background, from where he comes from, besides the fact that.
So one of the reasons why I decided to become part of the industry was that I saw a lot of opportunity in terms of digitization and IT intervention, which was not. I've known Naveen for donkey's years, and I've seen him working and grow and everything. So I used to have that understanding of how the industry is, and at some micro level also working. And if you keep your Vibgyor head aside, largely the industry, it seems, still does not use any of these technologies which have become mainstream in a lot of other industries. Like even basic workflows in terms of project management or
which is why concerts get cancelled and clients have feedback sometimes.
So we've got that toothpaste test, which is something that you're using on a daily basis. So apart from the Google Sheets or the Microsoft, there's nothing in the event industry which a person uses on a daily basis.
That is the
ChatGPT is not our software. It's an external thing that we are using. But to have something he's created is something.
If this software doesn't work for one day, my organization comes to a halt.
Yeah. What are the segments? Yeah. So I look at it like a flywheel kind of a scenario where the circle can be divided into 4 quadrants. That is how we as an organization function. And in the first quadrant, like he had said, the client servicing and all, but we put a business and a lead. So that is where the business comes in, the lead is there and the business is there. So they don't do, in our system, they don't do the account management. The second segment is the servicing and the account management part. And there is an overlapping because the bridge has to be there. And then the third segment is the concept and the strategy where all your 2D, 3D, your video and copywriting, everything happens. And account manager's role is technically because the business and the lead will give the lead and then they are out of it, and the account manager's role is to be a bridge between the client and the internal team, and the concept and strategy builds everything for them, and then they present together with the account management, and the last is the operation and the production where the actual groundwork happens. And as we say in our industry, that your last show is you are known for the last business is as good as your work is as good as your last show, and if the work is good, then it again moves into the flywheel and the business starts. So that is how the entire flywheel. So our system is divided majorly into it.
What to expect in an event management career? The first thing is no repetition, a new job each day. One day you're selling cars, the next day you're trying to motivate employees, the third day you're probably doing a wedding function, and the fourth day you are sampling soap in a mall.
Right.
So what to expect is a new job each day, and I've been doing a new job for the last 23 years in Vibgyor. A vibrant and young work culture. That's the next thing. Sometimes when I'm in the games room in my office, I feel I'm back to my college canteen. That is the kind of work culture that we've retained, and I'm sure most of the other young agencies have a similar vibrant and young work culture. The next thing is seeing your dreams convert into reality. Very few careers have that. Otherwise what you do is repetitive and you're doing one small cog of the wheel. Here, when you dream, that, this set would be huge, or this stage would be this, or a launch would happen like this. Very few careers offer you that incentive of allowing you to dream and see it convert into reality. That's the third thing. Lots of travel, impossible deadlines, crazy demands by clients, and crazier ways to fulfill them, right? Yeah. And fast growth and a lot of learning. So if you are willing to go in the ride, it's like a roller coaster ride. You won't get to know when 5 years have passed and you've become 10 times your salary and you've become either an entrepreneur or a really successful senior person at an agency.
This sounds very enticing, right? That is, but is that really so?
No, so I was coming to that only. So, so while this sounds very enticing, one of the reports that we often cite is that, and this was a report done by Forbes, that event manager's job is the 6th most stressful job in the world, and after a air traffic controller and a firefighter, that kind of a category.
Pilot, neurosurgeon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So while there's a new job, exciting job to be done every day, it obviously comes with a lot of expectations and your ability to whether I can do that or not, for my client, for my organization and not. So anybody who is joining new should also understand this, that this is if you don't enjoy that kind of environment, then probably this is not the
it's a very high adrenaline job.
Correct.
If it gives you goosebumps, then you should be in it. If seeing an event happen, even now when I go to an event and I see the creation that we had presented on a PowerPoint come to life, it gives me goosebumps. It brings the kind of energy that can sustain me for 72 hours without going back home.
Correct.
Right? So if you are one of those people who get that kind of a feeling, that kind of energy and adrenaline, then this career is made for you. Otherwise not.
So do you think one should kind of first figure it out? Because, there is one point of time, I'm talking about me personally, I started loving production, and that is, I didn't care about CS or anything, though I'm already on the front of stage, right? It was, I want to know how the stage is created. And I tried to go, knowing some friends who were already working on production. But you realize how much stress is it? How much those continuous hours of you're not sleeping literally for 3 days. It is also a very, very stressful job.
No, and you're asked to do the impossible. I mean, there are times when you have to create a crazy set and the client says, sorry, we will get the hall at 2 in the morning and our rehearsal is at 8 in the morning. And you know that set requires 15 hours to create. Correct. But you do it. You call double the labor, you call 10 times the helpers, you get everything working around, but that's part of the energy.
So that's what I'm saying. Let's set the expectations straight.
You have to achieve the impossible. If you are up to that, then join this industry. Otherwise, not.
So I obviously yes, the stress is more, but I have a different point of view. So in my journey, I went through stages of servicing, operation, production, creative. There are times where I have sat on a coral, and when I was in a certain company, manpower was not there, so I had created stuff on my own also. But throughout the journey, and I think so, I don't even remember how many shows I've ran from the console, and being on the console is the most stressful job. You are running the show live, and that is what I went through. But
Naveen, it's also a high.
No, it's a high, but there comes a time in everyone's life, and everyone has a choice to either do it or do not do it. So my history has been, all my clients know that I will not come in the action area where the show is. I might do the setups and rehearsals till 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. in the morning. I will move out. In the biggest of the show, I am managing traffic outside with the danda. That's it, because I do not have the guts to go inside. One of the biggest show in 2019 we were doing, and this was a very big Google show. And during the entire show of 8 hours, I was sitting at Haji Ali and eating that faluda and, sitting. That's how I have built myself. I don't go. So I don't travel because see, it's not that
luxury now.
No.
To have that.
No,
choice.
it's not that. So in an army, you have all kinds of people, right? People who are on the front, people who are strategists, people who are on the horses. So similarly, you can define, because if you cannot take the stress, because it doesn't make sense. That is how accidents happen. If something you are not made for it, don't get into it. And if you are made for something, then get into it.
But Naveen, that luxury happens after 20 years of being in events. We are talking about when you've joined the industry, you don't have that luxury. You have to do what is required to churn out a successful show.
Correct.
Right? So we are talking about the beginning of one's career.
So should we say that if you are passionate and if you feel you have that stamina, which you might feel you have, you only can realize it once you are really on the job. Frankly, there are a lot of things. But can you set out, okay, let me ask this. Like I want to apply in an event management company. I'm a very enthu kid. It is, I think I can do it all. Because I used to do it in school, I've been studying hours or whatever. This is the kind of mindset we have at that point of time. Now I want to get into events. It's a lucrative profession, very well established. Everyone knows what is events. What makes me a candidate ready for it? Do I find out after a while, come explore? Or it is that, okay, maybe come with these many skill sets, prepare yourself to this certain level so you're ready for it. What can we do?
See, I think so the most important aspect of being an event manager is that you need to live through the entire event. If you do not have a throughput, irrespective of whatever or in whichever field you are, you will not be able to make it in event management. You have to live the entire event from point A to point B or point Z. And the number of times you do before the event depends on the success of the event. The success will happen because of this run through.
So Naveen, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you short, and I'm saying, see, okay, when I'm coming from a back, say I am an engineer, I've studied engineering. I know mera internship bhi hua, mera sab kuch hua, certain portions bhi hua, where I've gone on job and probably done certain part of my career, and then I have gone into an organization. I'm kind of ready for it to a little extent. इवेंट मैनेजमेंट में हमारे पास आज की डेट में कोई ऐसा स्ट्रक्चर है ही नहीं, मतलब कोई ऐसा कॉलेज नहीं है which kind of prepares you.
As such कोई qualification नहीं है which gets you.
So all you can do is just foray into it and figure it out.
No, but there are institutes where the courses are there for event management, and once you join that, you obviously join an event.
But honestly, looking it from outside, I have never seen anybody make a career by choice. It's always been a career by accident. Most of the people that I have met,
that was the case 15 years ago, not today. To answer your first question, I think अगर आप में जुनून है, अगर वो चीज आपको एक्साइट करती है, अगर वो आपके रोंगटे खड़े करती है, seeing a live event happen, if it gives you goosebumps, get into it, you'll figure out a way. That's the first point.
Fair enough.
If it gives you a spark in your eyes, if it gives you a, if it lights up your face, it lit up my face when I was a kid. When I went to the first event, it gave me goosebumps, and I remember that day even till now. It was the Deep Purple concert of Wizcraft, which was my first ever event, and I can visualize that day even now at Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in Delhi. Uske baad, see, what a formal education does is only and only prepare you for what you will learn at work. It just gives you the theory of it, which I would say is 25% of your preparation. It just prepares you for what lies ahead. Your learning will all happen on the job, which is why when we do internship programs, we have a 3-month or a 6-month internship program where they get a stipend. But at the end of those 3 months or 6 months, they are very clear whether they want to get into this business or not. And if they want to, then they start at a X lakhs per whatever year salary. So there is no other way to learn swimming except jumping in the deep.
Water.
Jumping in the deep.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Jumping in the deep.
How do you get freshers into your company?
So we do a lot of. We have contacts with various colleges. We do lectures at those colleges. Students who apply.
MBA colleges or what kind of colleges?
Yeah, postgraduate as well as graduate, but largely postgraduate. So mostly students who've done mass communication, journalism, PR, and of course courses in event management. People who are in the communication space. Are attracted to this line. So I do some lectures at colleges, and some of my other colleagues do some lectures, etc. And people apply to us, and we take part in a few of the placement rounds. And
are there any certifications which as an industry probably are in pipeline or we are doing that people can probably be a part of, which might be on the job?
Yes. So we as EEMA are in the process of creating a few certifications, which are short-term certifications where people who have worked with some of the reputed agencies will get credits and certifications, and they will be recognized when they go for a job interview. So there is a program in place. We have a full education committee which is headed by Brian, and they are creating a full structure which will allow students to get credits that are useful at the time of applying for a job.
So are these short-term? Sorry.
No.
Are these like short-term or something?
Internships.
Okay.
Yes.
So are we looking at from the EEMA's point of view, like for example, there are institutes which are international like MPI and all, and they provide certification, and a certified event planner is something which once the certification is there, then it's very easy for them to freelance on a project or go to a company. So in the future, are we looking at anything on those lines where how the industry is growing with the percentage or the CAGR that the industry is growing. We'll need a lot of skilled manpower for this industry to survive or sustain. So is there anything which is in the pipeline from EEMA's point of view?
So there is no doubt about that, Naveen. As you know that our industry is growing at a phenomenal rate. I would peg it at 17 to 20%.
Right.
Very few industries today have that kind of a growth rate. This is more than double the average growth rate of most industries. And just like in every other industry, and especially in our industry, the gig economy is big. We will move to a space where almost 80% of the work for at least execution and operations will be done by professionals who are not on our payrolls. And for that, EEMA is creating a program called EPID, Event Professional ID, where we will have certified professionals who will be recognized by EEMA and certified by EEMA on our website. A list of them will be there, and all EEMA member agencies, that the top 800 agencies of India are members of EEMA, will pick up their freelancers, whether it is artists or makeup artists or it is freelancers or designers, anybody from that pool who has an event professional ID. So we have that program that we are working on, and in the next few months we should be able to go
to the next point. Like while we were discussing during one of our meeting, it came out that you planning something which is related to jobs and careers, where something EEMA is doing, where if you are looking for a job, maybe you can post your resume and you'll find the best of the opportunities in the industry. Can you elaborate a little more for the audience?
So we are creating a new website, and I am hoping that within February it should be online, where anybody who wants to be part of this industry can just go there, post their resume, their mobile number as well as their email ID, and this pool of people will be visible to all the agencies, and before they actually go to colleges, placements, etc., they will have the first opportunity to get placed with these. So all the HR managers of EEMA member agencies will have access to this entire pool, to this entire database. So that is a reality which is going to happen within the next 1 month.
Yes.
Is it like an open thing, or is it something like an Indeed or Monster? Which
open to only EEMA members. The data will be visible only to the EEMA members, to the HR managers as well as the owners of EEMA members. And anybody who wants to be part of the industry will put their details, a 100-word bio, a CV, mobile number and email ID, if they have a link of any kind of work that they've done. So those things will be visible to HR managers, and they will reach out to them directly.
And will they be, just ask, is there going to be any fee attached to it, or is it going to be something for the straight of for? And so anyone who's looking at
anybody who's looking at a career will be capable of
that. Will be a very easy window, because right now people don't know what to do, where to do, and probably they don't even know where they fit.
Correct.
In
so if they have an inclination towards any one of the departments, they'll have to mention that, and if they don't have an idea, they'll just say any. So if they want to go to CS, BD, operations or creative, they will have the choice to choose that, or they can say any. If they are not clear about what their capability is, what their inclination is. And basis that, the HR managers will pick up resumes from there and get in touch with them. It's a simple. Classified kind of a situation.
So coming back to one very important aspect, because everyone has those 24 hours and you can devote those 24 hours to a certain aspect, and you're running a very big organization and being part of EEMA, you devote a lot of time, because I've seen you're very passionate about the music licensing, and you do a lot of licensing with the government to get that policy in place. And then I see that every Tuesday you are there in EEMA office. So how do you manage time, if you can tell the audience, and what kind of time is it that you're dedicating to EEMA to get all these things in action? Because this is a very important aspect. This is like a saver for the industry.
Accountability without salary.
So Naveen, it's very simple. Today, whatever I am, it is because of this industry. Whatever I have gained in my life, it is because of this industry. I did not inherit my father's business, or so whatever prosperity I have gained in my life, it is because of this industry. And the time that I spend in EEMA is my little way of giving back to this industry. Yes, the entire day Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'm at the EEMA office, and it is dedicated for EEMA work. And every day post lunch, the second half is for EEMA. So, as you know, I've been elected General Secretary of EEMA, and there is a lot of hands-on work, administrative work and other things. A lot of processes need to be put in place. A lot of databases need to be put in place. A lot of systems need to be put in place. My effort is that before I exit this position, which is in August-September 2026, the EEMA Secretariat should be fully self-functional, like a professional body, like a CII or a FICCI or a PhD chamber. We've recently got on board a very senior professional called Preeti, who is our executive director. We've got 3-4 more professionals. So my entire vision is to professionalize the working of EEMA, to professionalize the databases of EEMA, to professionalize the systems of EEMA, so that the people who come in after me in these positions do not need to spend this kind of time and energy to run EEMA. As of now, yes, it requires a serious amount of time. I do put in 2 to 3 hours every day and 1 full day a week. But I'm not complaining. That is out of choice. It's not a compulsion. And I believe it's my very little small contribution towards the industry that has given me everything that I have. So it's a fair deal.
Okay. Again, going back to touching one important aspect, like for example, 2 days back or today's newspaper also, it was Prime Minister Modi is saying that the concept economy is growing and we should build a lot of things on the infrastructure. And I've heard that there's a lot of work which is going on the spiritual tourism, which is going to be bigger. Then we hear that because of our efforts at EEMA, there is something called Wed in India, where the wedding destination, we are promoting India as a wedding destination, as a MICE destination. Right. So from EEMA's point of view and from policy's point of view, what are those initiatives that we are trying to build for music, and how difficult it is? Because the entire objective of this podcast to do is to become the voice of the industry. And if we have to become the voice of the industry, so that one message that you want to tell to the government or the people who make the policy, that this is the most important aspect, because I think so a lot of economy is running on the events that we do, from the corporate side, from the wedding side, from the tourism becomes so Kumbh, so many people coming from all across the world are coming to Kumbh. So if you can little elaborate and go deeper on it.
So, thank you, Naveen. That's a very relevant point. I think our Honorable Prime Minister is the biggest event manager of this country.
Yes, correct.
He's really...
unanimously.
But he's really fond of creating big IPs. Everything becomes a large event. And, we are so grateful for that he has that vision. And, we are at a great opportunity. This Wed in India was a campaign that we worked with closely with the Ministry of Tourism, and it happened with EEMA's cooperation, and we really promoted it. And it's something that we believe that there is so much of business that goes out of India for outbound weddings. What if that business comes back into India, which runs into thousands of crores? And India should be a destination where people from all over the world, we are uniquely placed because of our culture, because of our manpower, because of our hospitality, to be the event capital of the world. And we want to explore that and exploit that to the maximum, whether it is the tourism aspect, whether it's the weddings aspect, whether it's a religious or spiritual tourism aspect. So I think the golden age for events is here. Yeah. And I think that this is, and do you know the kind of business that the event fraternity does as a total? It is in the tune of 5.5 lakh crores, which is not a small number. We have everything in place to grow at 20% for the next 5 years, if not more. I don't know of too many other industries that can boast of this kind of a growth, right? Every other industry is either growing at a 5 to 7%, 8%, 10% space, or declining. This is the one industry which we expect to grow. I mean, today, with the kind of concerts that have happened, whether it's Diljit or it's Coldplay or any of the other concerts, people are spending money for entertainment. I remember at one of the EEMA events, many years ago, I think it was 2012 or possibly 14, there was one talk, we had this session of future event managers, young event managers, and one of them, who's a dear friend, said that right now it's roti, kapda and makan. Mm-hmm. From now on, it will be roti, kapda, makan and entertainment. Mm-hmm. And that was, it just struck me at that time that what is this guy saying? But I saw that playing out. Mm-hmm. Today, people are spending money for entertainment. Correct. It has become part of their to-do list. 10 years ago, those experiences were only available to those who got a free ticket. Mm. So that culture is changing, and I think it's such a welcome sign for our industry. See, there are incidences in every, when thousands of people will come, there will be some issues, etc. We are all aware of that. But overall, the kind of flip that it's giving to the economy, the kind of future that it's opening up, the kind of opportunities that it's opening up is huge. People are spending money for tickets. You talk about Coldplay in Ahmedabad, it was phenomenal. Yeah. 3 lakh people or 3 lakh 80,000 people. You talk about Diljit Dosanjh, the average ticket price was I think 6,500 or 7,000 rupees. So people are actually paying for entertainment, and that is the big shift that has happened in your and my in the last possibly 5 years.
Yes.
Before that, people would only come to entertainment concerts if they got a free pass. Today, that habit has changed.
That change, yes.
So the dependence of a conference organizer on tickets today is probably 70%, which was not more than 20% earlier. And therefore, concerts were only possible if they had rich sponsors who were willing to back them without an ROI model. Today, sponsors may or may not be there. The concert will happen because of the ticket sales, because of people like Book My Show and Zomato District, etc. People who've developed this ecosystem. So I think our industry is poised for humongous growth, especially this concerts and live gigs, etc. I don't think this will grow at 20%. I think this will grow at 50%.
So we were studying the data, and we came out like if it is like a $5 billion USD right now, by the time we are at 2047, and which is like the 100 years of independence, it should be around 225, 250 billion USD.
Absolutely, yes.
Around. And that the industry, 250 billion is something what the software industry is today.
Right.
So that's the kind of growth we are looking
I want to play a slightly devil's advocate. See, what we are projecting is that there's a potential for so much of demand to happen for the events industry, right? And we also know that if we are not able to cater to that demand, the demand will go somewhere else. Like a marketing person in an organization has multiple channels to explore to market their product. If an event is not something that they would want to, they'll probably take the print, they'll probably take the TV, they'll take the OTT, and there are a number of channels available. Now, while we're saying that the industry demand is going to grow, there are a lot of bottlenecks that I see again from an external perspective on being able to cater to the demand. Infrastructure, capital, capacity, and all that. We spoke about a couple of these with Samit earlier. But let's stick to, for example, the capacity, the people, right? 17 to 20% growth every year would mean that you need to add 17 to 20% workforce every year to the industry as well. It will not grow otherwise, right? You need people to be able to execute that kind of a. How do you get that, right? I mean, I don't know of any institute which has been added in the last 4-5 years, which trains people in the event management. And if we keep relying on small initiatives, then we'll never be able to add a structured capacity building program to the industry. I think that's where the work needs to be done, because
I agree with you, Vishal. And so that is the interesting dichotomy. We have an excess of people who don't have jobs, and we have an excess of jobs who don't have people.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so that is the interesting dichotomy that we have.
Correct.
It is just about skilling them.
Correct.
There is a very small bridge that needs to be created. So we have enough manpower, we have enough people. As you know, 65% of this the country's population is below 35.
Correct.
Right? And there are lakhs and crores of people who require jobs, who would love to get into the event management industry, either as a freelancer or as a full-time worker. And there are lakhs of, today the fact is that there is no dearth of business. We don't do, at least my agency, we don't do business development.
Correct.
Because we have more business than what we can handle.
Exactly.
Right? If tomorrow I can hire 100 more people, skilled people, if I get 100 more skilled people, I'll hire 100 more skilled people. I can double my workforce and still be able to feed all of them and still be able to cater to all of them.
Correct.
So the key gap is skilling. And I completely agree with you that this is the space which requires work by the government, by the industry, by all of us. We see huge growth, we see huge opportunity. There is no dearth of jobs. All we require is passionate people who want to get into this field, who want to learn, who will take 2 or 3 years to become experts and masters in the game.
Do we have in institutes when we go and we do recruiting, right? For like companies go ahead and they recruit people for their industry. Does the event industry do anything of that sort? Like people who are fresh out of this thing?
So individual agencies do, but I don't think as an industry we have an organized way of doing that.
Is that something that we can look at? Because as we are saying, we need people if we want to grow.
Yes, but recruitment is actually an individual decision. It's very difficult to recruit as an industry. We can offer those people, like I said, the EEMA website will be capable of displaying all the people who are interested to get into the event space. But at the end of the day, whether to hire A or B or C or all three of them is the decision of that one agency. I cannot dictate that to them. I can create a bridge between those who want a job and those who need people.
That's what I'm saying. Now, there is this like placements are there because this industry is there, which is, they also know, students also know that these are certain places where we will be recruited. Yahan kya hai, and a person who wants to get into event management is clueless. He doesn't know what to do.
So maybe there's one more thing. I know a lot of agencies which hire from mass communication institutes, like Mudra is one of the premier ones.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of very good agencies who hire from these institutes, and very good institutes for mass communication. So that's the very easy way, because a person is from mass communication, understands that what we do is all about communication, and the hiring is done accordingly. But it's not set in stone. But yes, there are a lot of agencies which do that.
Like so many MC, for example, my profession, a lot of newcomers who just will pick up, because on Insta, like they'll just make you, see, I'm really good, you do great, this is how they start, you do amazing work, blah, 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 that's the way to start and interact, and then like, I also want to do this, what's the way? Frankly, I can't because I can tell you, probably develop these skills, start learning, I can tell you how to be probably a slightly better speaker or to improve on your public speaking skills. But I can't get you a job. See, there is this is something I can't tell an agency, okay, I see this person looks like there's a lot of potential, straight up put her on a stage or this thing, it is something on me as well. So there is no route. Even if I want to help, I'm not able to help. So that is, there has to be a way for people to understand and find a way to get into the industry. Okay, there will be a few that, who are like really desperate, I have to get, this is it. But unless and until there is a straightforward route, there is not really a way to do this. So certification
I agree with you. Yes,
is one of them. So this is about the industry, and I will come back to another thing when it comes to working in an event industry. So there have been a lot of incidences, and there's a lot of talk, not only in our industry but everywhere, which is stress. Right? Our industry is high stress.
it is.
How do you manage that? I'm going to ask two very different questions, and I want you to answer both. This second thing is people from different genders, right? So maybe at the base level, there is still, people from different genders coming in, and now be it women or men, girls or boys, whichever, they can be on the job, on the site. But there is still a lot of gender disparity when it comes to probably higher up positions. Is there a reason behind it? Is there anything that is happening on that front? And are people still scared when it comes to the security when they hire a female employee? So very, very, I've mixed a lot of topics into one, I know, but...
Yeah. So I will address the gender thing first. Actually, I think it's the other way around, Sanchali. I think that especially on the operational aspect, at the lower level, it's very, very difficult for some women to be able to give the kind of hours and time that our events require at an operational level. I'm not talking about client servicing or creative right now. I'm talking about purely operations, where there are times when a person has to stay on the stage for 72 hours or 48 hours and not go back even for a shower or, So those constraints are there because of the kind of society that we live in, because of the kind of security conditions that are outside. Maybe they're secure in that place, but when they go out to take a cab to go home at 3 a.m, maybe there are risks, and responsible agencies do whatever they can to mitigate those risks. But so when you reach a stage, when you are at a senior manager level or a client servicing director level, or you are heading an event, when you are at that stage, then those risks get mitigated, because you are then guiding a team, right? You have a team of 10-12 people below you, and you are giving responsibility, then you are leading client. It's not a problem. But when you are at the beginning of your career and you have to go home at 4 o'clock in the morning for 3 nights in a row, it does certainly pose, and there may be times that you have a colleague who is accompanying you, and there may be times when that colleague is not available. So, and there may be agencies who have put in those systems in place, and there may be agencies who don't have those kind of systems or people or processes or mindset, frankly. So that is a genuine concern, and for women to really be able to participate in that kind of thing sometimes does get a little challenging, and it's unfortunate, but that kind of a question is asked, that will you be able to give long time, will you be able to stay on site for as long as it's required, and so on and so forth.
Which is fair.
But that does become a challenging part. It is a fact of life. But when you have reached, if you've put in 5, 7, 8 years and you are at that stage where you are actually controlling a client and you take the decision on who is doing what, and you are allocating teams, and you are able to be you are in a commanding position, then it's not a problem. Then actually there is an advantage. If the client believes in you, trusts you, knows your level of skill and competence, I find women managers far more effective and empathetic in my organization than their male counterparts, because I believe that they are able to give the kind of the trust, imbibe the kind of trust in a client in a far more cool-headed manner, in a far more composed manner than some of their male counterparts are, and very often they are far more mature. So the problem happens at the entry level. If one is able to overcome that, if one is able to work along with that, then there are no issues in the growth opportunities. I don't think, unlike other careers where women, there are issues in the growth opportunity. Here it is at the entry level where there is a problem. Right? When you are learning, when you are a flunky, when you have to go to the airport and pick up a person. Yeah. Unfortunately, all of us start at that level.
Correct.
Right? Correct. That is where the issue happens, not the opportunities later. So that was one part of your question. The other one was to...
the stress.
Yes. So, like I said, it is a high-stress job, and if it doesn't excite you, it will be very high stress. If it excites you, that stress turns into opportunity. That stress turns into adrenaline.
But I think so. Stress is not specific to our industry. Like for example, if you look at all the 10-minute delivery companies, I have so many people working, so many. Throughout the night, people are working. Supply chain is so difficult that people do not go home back like 48 hours, and the stress is there as well. And there is stress all over the thing. It's very individual and how organizations bring it all together.
So how do you manage it?
No, stress is there. There is no doubt. See, the thing is that unlike many other fields, we don't have a second take. You've been on stage long enough to know that, right? So either that launch is successful or it is not
successful. There is nothing in between.
Right? There is nothing in between. So at that time, you will move mountains. You will do whatever it takes. You will beg, borrow, steal, cheat, do whatever the hell it takes to make that event successful. And that is part and parcel of our business, right? Correct. You don't have a second take. If the CEO of a company is cutting a ribbon, it doesn't matter who's holding the ribbon, whether the ribbon is stuck to a wall, it doesn't matter. That ribbon has to be there, it has to be cut, it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that is part of our business.
Yeah, but I think the stress comes from the fact that a lot of things are not in your control also, right? For example, rain.
Yes,
right?
yes.
If it happens to rain and you have not
so
planned
plan
for it,
A and plan B. Plan B is with rain, without rain.
Without
it. And so sometimes nothing works.
Yeah, it doesn't. But so 70% of the things are in our control and 30% are not. But we have to plan for that 30%. That is what our expertise is. That is what planning is all about. That if it rains, we have this hangar in which we will all shift.
Right.
And so. And the client is told before it, the client is apprised about the cost. Yeah. And if the client approves the cost, there is a plan B. If the client doesn't, they are well aware of it. It is given to them in writing that if it rains, the function will have to be shifted inside and there will be a 30-minute delay. Even if the CEO is waiting, so be it.
So the approach is to call it out upfront.
To call it out upfront, to quantify the cost and to keep it on record.
Right.
I think we should have an entire episode around it. There's so many stories from events that, they are like, later you recall, they are like something you will laugh about, but at that particular times, they have been very stressful.
Correct.
And very often, the MCs are the ones who have to salvage it because they are the face of the event.
Cover them.
So we say, carry on.
और वो ये ना पीछे कुछ भी चलता रहे, आगे सब कुछ सही होना चाहिए. This is how it works.
This is showbiz.
This is showbiz.
So
Yeah.
One thing, like, because we are talking about the careers, if you can elaborate on how technology is playing, or what are the kind of things that people should understand. Like, for example, today Canva has become such a thing that every account manager or every person in the concept and strategy, today it's become very easy to put those presentations together just because of tech. So any inroad or deep dive into what kind of careers or technology people should look at?
So not just Canva, Midjourney, so many other, ChatGPT, of course, Gemini, so many other things have become, common and regular in our industry at the moment. One has to just be abreast with the latest trends. Today it's these three. Tomorrow there'll be 5 other AI softwares which will become popular. The fact is that we have to free up our time from doing menial tasks. So if earlier we had to spend 10 hours on just beautifying a presentation, now we have to spend 1 hour, the rest 9 hours are spent by the software. So it is about making yourself more efficient by keeping abreast of technology. It doesn't matter. I mean, if I tell you 5 softwares right now, they will become obsolete by next month or from 3 months from now, right? They will be
but
better, faster.
I agree on that point, that if you incorporate tech into your day-to-day life, maybe that stress becomes less.
Yes.
So
but
anything that
Midjourney and stuff like that is slightly more advanced. I mean, what I have seen is that even the basic workflows in terms of project management is not there. That is a I did a small
customized workfw is not there, but standardized. So those kind of things. When we used to do pitches, Naveen, 10 years ago, today you can just say, show me a person launching a mobile phone on a stage with a Airtel backdrop on it, and it will create something.
I'm talking about the process of implementation of execution of an event. So this is not just about making a presentation, right? I did a small, fact check. I typed event tech on Google to see ki aata kya hai. And most of the products and offerings that I got was around attendee management,
audience generation,
and stuff like that. Then there's another person, Julius Sorales, who keeps publishing the top products in the industry. And he published a list of about maybe 50-60 odd products which are like top of the game. And again, 90% were in the category of event ticketing, attendance, audience generation, and all that. I did not come across a single project management software made for events
So you should copyright yours and bring it in the market.
Maybe that
copyrighted.
So it's copyrighted, but I don't want to make that. I want to use that to make our process simpler. But you are absolutely right. See, I think what these softwares at the moment are doing are simplifying the tasks which are repetitive. See, our business is all about creativity. We are all about creativity. We are all about doing new tasks. And that is the unique thing about our business, which is also why when you spoke about, Naveen, why aren't Ps investing money in our business? So I think there are 2 or 3 key reasons for that. I'm sorry, I'm coming back to an older conversation. The first reason is that it's very individual-led, like you rightly said. The systems and processes are not to grow the brand, but to grow the individual. Without that individual, the brand falls down. Okay, that is the first one. The second one is that the level of standardization is not there. Today, so in Sparba there is, but in your event business there isn't, right? Each time you have to reinvent the process, right? If you were running a metro, or if you were doing something which is repetitive, you would become more and more and more and more efficient and better and not worry about today. Each time we get a brief, it's a new brief, right? So that is the other reason, that level of standardization, and that is why it's very difficult to have a process software. My software is also on the hinges. It is talking about, frankly, about the business development, it's talking about the project management, and it's talking about the expense management. But it is not talking about the creative aspect of my event.
That cannot.
Right? No, but in many businesses, it is talking about the core of that business. Here, the core of our business is creative, which is new each time. It's not that if I was a equipment supplier who's just putting light and sound in every event in a 5-star hotel each day, every day. It was very easy to create a software which monitors that and makes sure that repetitive job gets better each time it happens. Right? But that is not the case with companies like ours and yours. Every day there's a different thing, and every creative output requires a specific solution, which chances are very different from the previous. Even the same event, when we do again, the client says, "Kuch naya do yaar." वो नहीं चाहिए मुझे. right? Every client wants something new, which is part of the
I slightly disagree with that. So the output and the requirement of the client might vary from brief to brief, but the process of creation would not vary that much, and therefore
I disagree with that, Vishal. I'm telling you, in all these years, there are very few events that have been repetitive. Okay, there may be some IT companies or some companies which do repetitive certain kind of events. That is a small segment. Maybe that's 10, 15, 20% of the total business. But 70, 80% of the business is such that it requires creativity and innovation at each stage, each time afresh. I have, as part of our training, we have more than 5,000 presentations of every kind. So we have this Gmail drive on which all presentations are made. They are segregated in folders. There are keywords. If you want to look at a product launch for mobile company, you search, you'll get 10 presentations that Vibgyor has done. So every presentation, every decent presentation that we've done is stored with certain tags, and every new person has access to them. But still, and if we have more than 5,000 presentations with 5,000 designs, 5,000 launch ideas, 5,000 everything, even then, each time we have to create a new presentation. By now, we have created every kind of presentation, every kind of launch, every kind of employee meet, every kind of anything that can be thought of, we have it in our database. But why is it that we still have to brainstorm and come up with a new presentation each time? I had thought that I have solved that problem, but I have not.
No, but the process of creating a new presentation would be same. I'm saying you'll have to brainstorm. You'll have to get the team together.
It is okay. So, but the core idea, but I cannot replicate the core idea. It's not that just because I have made 100 designs for product launch of an IT company, I don't need to make the 101st. It will be one of these 100. That is not the case. In most other industries, that is the case. Once you've figured out how to create a car, once you've figured out how to create a tire, once you've figured out how to create XYZ, then you just work on how to do it better rather than how to do it.
We'll keep disagreeing with each other.
Sure. Naveen, I'd like your views on this. He comes from a different background, you come from a different background, and I'd like to get your views on this.
I understand what he's saying, but technically what is happening is in the few years, in the 10 years, 15 years down the line, the entire process of even the creative process will be all through tech.
Agreed.
That is how the tech is moving. So the entire workflow from taking the brief, understanding the brief,
completely
and
agreed.
Through AI, you can create those agents which can completely understand the brief, create those objectives. The agents can in the future also make the presentations where the concept can be a completely new concept, because
Agreed.
Today, the chat GPT, if you put certain keywords, you come out with a concept and they will give you options and how to do it.
Yes.
So I think so we are moving into that direction, and trust me, event tech is a very buzzword in the entire global market, because today what is happening, because of the chat GPTs, the AI, and because of the social media, social media going wrong. Yesterday we were sitting with one of a very, as in he's known for the marketing thing, and he was saying social media is all crap, and everyone is milking the same cow. How much can they milk? So ultimately what it comes down to is कि if you have to build a brand, or if you have to build trust, or if you have to build a community, it has to be human interface in person. So sure. Events are something which is
live
becoming,
experiences.
Yeah, live experiences are becoming something which is very, very important. And in the next 10, 15, 20 years, they will form a very important part of the marketing. The dynamics will change, and there is no doubt that the technology will take over some of the aspect. Obviously, it cannot take over all the aspect, because no matter how big computer you make, at the end of the day, human is the person who's running it. Okay. So that is my point of view. We still do not have a roadmap or a vision, but that is where the entire world is moving.
I agree with you. So I have just 2 points here. One is that, yes, so what live experiences do is touch, move, and inspire. Mm-hmm. That is something that softwares can't do, and that is something that our business is all about, and that is why our business is growing. As more and more forms of media are there, and every consumer is bombarded with multiple kinds of media, whatever helps him or her get moved, touched, and inspired is what works, and live experiences do exactly that. The second is that you rightly said, today there was a time 5 years ago or a little before that every presentation that we made required at least 20 to 30 hours of creative time.
Right.
Today, 80% of that work is done by AI. We get into that 20 or 30 hours of creative work once we get a confirmation. And that is the big shift that has happened in the last maybe 2 years.
Yes.
Right? Where the initial part of the business, the part where we showed 10 options, where we gave simulations, etc., is now done by the software. And therefore our level of input, our level of hard work happens after the client gives a fundamental okay on what direction they want to go, which was not a facility that we had 5 years ago, even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think this conversation, there is no end to it because, right?
Yes.
It's going to keep looping back and it is going to go forward with the way the world is going forward.
Yes.
So I think on a very last note, Ankur, since coming back to the original topic of the podcast, which was careers, what is that one advice or your piece of whatever, something that you want to say from your journey, or give some piece of advice to anyone who is trying to make a new career in event management, and second, to somebody who's already a part of the event business but is trying to further diversify or maybe go on to the next level.
So the first part of the question is making a new foray into the event management world.
Yeah.
So if you have the passion for events, attend 2 or 3 events. If it gives you goosebumps, get into it. Start working as an intern in any of the established companies. If you have the passion for it, they will see that passion. They will hire you. Work for free. It doesn't matter for 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay, give it those 3 months. You will realize in those 3 months whether or not you're cut out for it. I guarantee you, within 3 months you will realize.
Correct.
Even if it doesn't pay you, work for those 3 months. Right? If you are cut out for it, start your journey. Give it 3 to 5 years. Have the patience. Learn the skills. Don't be in a hurry to job hop. Don't be in a hurry to switch industry. If you feel after those 3 months that this excites you, this is something that you would love doing. Either you love it or you don't. There's nothing in between, right? Either you love the business of events or you don't love the business of events. You will get to know that in 3 months. Work in any decent agency. Make sure that they have systems, processes, culture. Give it 3 years and magic will start to happen. It doesn't matter whether you're in creative, whether you're in operations or in client servicing. Magic will start to happen in 3 to 5 years. But you have to have the patience of those 3 months first and those 3 years later.
Correct.
That is as far as
the foray is concerned.
The foray is concerned. As far as people who are already in this business, if entrepreneurship excites you, maybe after you've got 5 to 7 years of experience and you have the financial capital and you have the courage to be on your own, it's a great place to be an entrepreneur. The business is going to grow at 20% over the next 5 years. If you are good at your work, there is no way that you will fail. Right? So take that leap, leap of faith. There are 2 options. Either you work for a large organization, a big brand, and be at the management level, be at the leadership level of that, or you become an entrepreneur. That is completely your choice. Both choices will be financially rewarding. Both choices will be, it's about constantly learning. The day you stop learning, you stop growing and you start falling. So don't have the attitude. I don't believe that I know even 50% of what this line has to offer. And as long as you're learning, you can decide to be a big fish in a small pond, or being your own pond, or trying to be a big fish in a big pond.
Yeah, there is a big pond out. There is a pond out there for you. Yeah.
The pond is soon to convert into an ocean. So remember that whichever pond you are in, it will diverge into the ocean, and you will have a place in that ocean.
Perfect. I think there wouldn't be a better way to sum this all up. So thank you.
Yeah, so but I would like to thank, because I think so this the event studio, we've been putting it up together for last 2.5 months. So thank you so much for being a pillar and advising us, guiding us to, and today we are here, we've brought it live finally. So thank you so much from the bottom of our heart.
Absolutely.
And
I would like to thank you. I mean, the kind of resilience and passion and this would not have been possible. It would never have become a reality without the 2 of you constantly pushing for it. So despite all odds, you've made it happen.
Yeah,
so
thank you so
congratulations
much.
and
Thank
thank
you
you.
so
Thank you,
Thank you,
Shah.
Ankur. Thank you
And Sanchali, you always a sweetheart. Thank you so much for accepting our request
No,
as
please,
always.
thank you.
Taking it to a different level.
Yes.
नहीं नहीं मेरे को अब डिफरेंट लेवल तो छोड़ो वापस वाले करण वाले लेवल पे जाते हैं as we decided right so since every talk show we sign some mugs हमारे पास ये specially curated mugs हैं and they are मतलब एक मेरे लिए बन रहा है अभी but just to let you know this is what we are EEMA and be Karan
You have,
silent
This is the current Johor moment.
be silent
this is the Karan Johar moment. You'll have
Everybody pen नहीं
to,
खुलता
somebody
है.
will have to open the pen. I will
हाँ जी.
certainly sign it. Thank you. I think all three of us should sign it. All four of us should.
No, that's okay. It's for
no,
the
we
best.
take our customized
Yeah.
ones
Yes.
thank you
Thank you.
Ankur. Look at this
Thank you so
picture
much.
perfect moment thank you
Thank you,
Ankur.
Sanchali. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.